Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 798. 798. May 31st, 2019. Friday. It's Fun Friday. Haven't had a fun Friday in a while, have we? We certainly deserve one after the week we've had. Alrighty, especially after yesterday. Boy, was that frustrating. Fortunately, that little matter is turning around in our favor. We'll get to that later. First, let's get started with the heavy stuff. Alrighty. It appears that Trump received a counterintelligence briefing in mid-August of 2016. And he was not told that the Russians were trying to infiltrate his campaign. Nor was Trump advised that Papadopoulos and Michael Flynn were under FBI investigation. Even though the purpose of the briefing is to advise candidates about national security threats. Now, according to Catherine Herridge of Fox News, AG Barr wants to know why. I'll bet he does. Barr also wants to know, why Jim Comey appointed Peter's been stroking us to coordinate the defensive briefing, seeing as how it was Strzok, who at that time was investigating Trump's campaign. In fact, he had started his counterintelligence operation just 18 days prior to this briefing. Oh boy. Oh God. Can you believe this? I can't believe we're just now finding out about this. Now, we were talking maybe a month and a half or 2 months ago. People were asking this question. Barr asked this question himself, kind of hypothetically, a couple of months ago. It's like, why didn't they brief Trump? I mean, when Diane Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein was discovered by having a Chinese spy working inside her Senate staff, they advised her. They went and said, hey, Diane, turn in your guns at Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein. Do you know that you have a Chinese spy working on your staff? And if I remember correctly, he had been around for a long, long time. Like over a decade. She got a briefing and they fired the staffer. It's not what they did for Trump. What they did to Trump, they ran a counterintelligence operation on him. And then a frame-up. Well, it was actually a frame-up disguised as a counterintelligence operation. Wrapped in a coup. My. That is just unbelievable. Trump receives a counterintelligence briefing in mid-August of 2016, just about 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks after they opened up the counterintelligence operation, which was essentially a coup disguised as a counterintelligence operation. He's not told that the Russians were trying to infiltrate his campaign because there were no Russians trying to infiltrate his campaign. It was John Brennan. That's right. That's right. There weren't Russians infiltrating Trump's campaign. It was Mr. Potato Head. Using his band of idiots. His three musketeers. Misfit, Downer, and Halper. Yeah, I'd like to have seen how that intelligence briefing might have went had Peters been stroking us sit down and had his people lay out the truth. Yeah, Mr. President, we're here to give you your intelligence, counterintelligence briefing. Yeah, so it looks like what we have going on here, sir, is it looks like my boss, Peter's been stroking us, is working over there with Mr. Potato Head at the CIA and British intelligence and a few others. And it appears that we're running a counter-intel op. Actually, we're running a coup on you disguised as a counter-intel op. And, we're running these spies into people in your campaign, trying to run frame-up operations on them. Yeah, that's basically what we have going on today, Mr. Potential President. Any questions? Unbelievable. So, yeah, we had been hearing this talk a couple of months ago. This came up. It's like, wait a minute. Once you become the Republican and Democrat nominee, you start getting intelligence briefings, including counterintelligence briefings, regularly, almost daily, as a matter of fact. You're getting almost daily briefings. And it's at that time that you should certainly tell a presidential candidate if in fact he's being targeted by a foreign government for some sort of espionage, counter-espionage, or something like that. Which is quite common, which is why they do the briefings, which is why they have this security, which is why they can only do certain things in a skiff. It's because when you become that person, the Republican or Democratic nominee, there's going to be a lot of people trying to get at you. Trying to get at you. In a lot of cases, trying to set you up or plant some information or something on you or someone on your team to be used against you later. I mean, governments, this is what they do. I mean, other countries, they have intelligence agencies too, and this is the type of stuff that they do. We do it, everybody does it. So obviously, our intelligence community is obligated to tell high-profile people like the Republican and Democrat nominee that, hey, we're now watching very carefully, and you should be aware that you are now going to be a high priority target for a foreign government for some sort of a plot. They may try to do something that they could use as blackmail material, something embarrassing or something like that. It could be you, could be someone in your campaign. Everybody is going to be a little more more closely scrutinized, and probably may fall prey to some of these types of individuals. They can come from China, they can come from Russia, they can even come from Israel. Oh, you better believe it, brother. The number one country that might be trying to run spies at you to set you up to get damaging or blackmail information on you is probably the Israelis. If the truth were known. That's probably what's going on here, my friends. Man, oh man. The hits just keep on coming. The hits just keep on coming, man. So, yeah, William Barr is very interested in answering that question. And again, I heard him pose that question in that interview with Fox News, where he said, yeah. He said what's unusual about this is normally in this situation, when you suspect that someone is a target, particularly a high-ranking government official or potential president, you're going to tell them. You're going to say, hey, we think that you might be getting targeted, or someone on your campaign team is being targeted. That's standard protocol. So again, here we can see that they completely violated standard protocol. And it's just funny, the situation is they're supposed to brief you if you're being targeted by a foreign government. And here in this case, Trump really was being targeted by a foreign government. He was being targeted by the British, certainly. He was being targeted by, obviously, Italy and I guess Estonia. Certainly Ukraine was targeting Trump. They knew all this was going on because they're working with him. But he wasn't just being targeted by foreign governments. He was being targeted by his own government. I mean, this is insanity, man. This is batshit crazy stuff. It really is. Now, speaking of Attorney General Barr, Barr gave an interview yesterday to CBS, and in that interview, he said that Mueller could have reached a decision on President Trump and obstruction of justice in the Russian investigation, but was not going to argue about Mueller's reasons for not doing so. Also, he said that the DOJ does not use our powers of investigating crimes as an adjunct to Congress. Exactly, Jerry Nadler. That's not the way Jerry reads it. But again, did you see Jerry at the press conference yesterday? Oh, man. He looked like he was a nervous wreck. I didn't know if he was going to pass out or puke or what he was going to do. But, I mean, he's holding that paper. He's reading that paper. And somebody asked him a question. He literally could not answer a question from his own mind. He would just look down at the paper again and repeat what he had just said. Repeat what he had just said. What a mess. What a mess he is. Trump's going to send him to an early grave from the stress. But, yeah, that's a very good point. To take what Uncle Bob, the drive-by executioner, said as a signal, if you're a member of Congress, that because of what Barr said and his investigation or whatever, that you should investigate. Wrong, Jerry. If, in fact, that would have been the intent of Uncle Bob, the drive-by executioner, he exactly would have said that. But he did not. For instance, if you go back to the Clinton thing with Ken Starr, Ken Starr laid out, I believe it was 13 crimes that he identified that Slick Willie committed. And he said, these are the 13 crimes I've identified that he committed. And so, at this point, it is the responsibility of the Congress to take up these issues and decide whether to, do this or that or the other. That's not what Uncle Bob the executioner did. And there's a good reason for that, because he does not have the evidence. Instead, he just kind of floated this sort of ambiguous statement out there, knowing good and well how the Democrats would read it and play it. And I have no doubt that this was completely coordinated. Absolutely coordinated. I'm certain of that. Absolutely certain of that. And that's why I've said there's a lot of coordination that went on here. And something I've said repeatedly, I'll say it again. In the course of A.G. Barr's investigation, or Mr. Durham's investigation, they definitely need to subpoena all communications of McCabe, Comey, Rodenstein, and Uncle Bob the drive-by executioner in that week that Comey was fired. Because if you remember, back in that week when Comey was fired, there was a rumor. It was only a rumor. I have no evidence it's true, but there was a rumor, and it's worth looking into, that after Comey was fired, one of the first people he called was Mueller. One of the first people he called was Mueller. And it sounds an awful lot like they cooked up this scheme, because a week later, here comes Mueller. And he's supposedly interviewing for the FBI job. And what happens? He leaves his phone behind. And then, of course, we had that conversation between Rodenstein and McCabe, where Rodenstein is indecisive about what to do about the firing of Comey and what to do. And he's being pushed to appoint the special counsel. And he tells McCabe, he says, well, I would like to, I'd like to talk to Comey about that. And could you, or at least Rodenstein wanted McCabe to talk to Comey about that. And McCabe said, hey, wait a minute. Comey's been fired. He's not the FBI director anymore. I'm the acting FBI director now, and I have nothing really to ask Comey about. If you want to ask Comey about what you think you should do about a special counsel, you call him. And we know that whole play was set up to bring in Uncle Bob. That was decided probably within a day, maybe 2 days of the Comey firing. The whole plot was set up because we have the emails where McCabe's talking about, hey, we have to act now. Peter's been stroking us, talking about we have to bring forth that charging doc now. They're talking about this, what they have to do. Then they're talking about the insurance policy. They're talking about all these things, all in that week after Comey is fired. And then all of a sudden, here comes Uncle Bob. He shows up, and he's brought into Trump's office, supposedly as an interview for the FBI director job. And he's brought in with Rodenstein and Sessions. They need to subpoena the phone communications between McCabe, Comey, Rodenstein, and Mueller during that period from the day that Comey was fired till 7 days later when Mueller came in for the interview. I'm almost certain that if you were to do that, you would find that there were communications between a couple of these four. Particularly, I certainly believe there could be direct communications between Comey and Mueller to set up this plot. I'm almost certain of it. I really hope someone thinks about that and does a subpoena or gets those phone records. Barr certainly could do that, so could Durham. Well, Trump told reporters today that his greatest achievement could be his exposing the deep state corruption and the Russia hoax. Is there any doubt in your mind what's on Trump's mind? There isn't mine. I'm telling you that. He's been talking about this for a very long time. I told you he's not going to let this thing go. He is going to pursue it. I'm telling you, it dominates his thought process every day. Even with all the other things that's going on, that have been going on, he's been tweeting and tweeting about this for well over a year, well, shit, over 2 years actually, and at least since spring of 2017. And he's never let go of it. And I promise you, he's more emphatic than ever about exposing the deep state corruption. I'm absolutely 100% certain that is a top priority. And that's why he's given Barr this authority for declassification and release of documents. That's why he's ordered Haspel and Ray to cooperate. And I think that may be a stepping stone to their firings. So, yeah, you better believe he's way up on the bit on this deal. And I promise you he is going to pursue it with serious vigor. And I believe Barr will as well. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is one of those deals here where I don't want anybody to choke or spit anything out on their computer keyboard or their screen or anything. So if you're right now chewing on anything, swallowing anything, eating anything, drinking anything, go ahead and finish up there. Go ahead and swallow, chew, swallow it now, chew it later, do whatever. Go ahead and get it down. Take that swig, whatever it is, get it all down, because you don't want to have food or drink in your mouth when I tell you this. Ready? Good. Here you go. The Rotten Reverend Clinton will be the keynote speaker at a cybersecurity summit later this year. Oh my God. Let me say that again. The Rotten Reverend Clinton is going to be the keynote speaker at a cybersecurity summit later this year. This company, 5i, a California cybersecurity company, has named the Rotten Reverend Clinton as their keynote speaker. I don't know what topics she'll be covering, but I'm trying to, let's see, what she could do. The Rotten Reverend Clinton could cover the topic of how to wipe your computer hard drive with a cloth. She could do how to set up an illegal, unencrypted private server network in your home that can be hacked by anybody without being charged with a crime. A lot of people would like to know how to do that. Or how about how to delete 30,000 emails and not come under us, how to delete 30,000 emails under subpoena without getting indicted. How do you pull that off? Reverend, I'm sure she'll tell us all about it at the cybersecurity conference that she's going to be the keynote speaker of. What's the HA calls her Madam Cyberhack? Yeah, the last person in the world. It's just like about 2 weeks ago when she said, yeah, well, when the other presidential candidates come to me for advice, about their campaign, I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. That's total bullshit. Nobody's coming to Hillary Clinton and asking her for advice on their campaign. What's she going to tell them? Don't campaign in Wisconsin. Call half the country deplorable. This woman is completely out of touch with reality. And anyone who would bring her in as the keynote speaker, can you imagine? Think about this. Think about this, man. You are a serious person involved in a business where maybe you have you're a software company and you write software and you really have information you really need to protect, and it's a really serious thing. And there's serious people who go to these summits and these conferences because they really do want to know how to better secure their network and their private property, their trademarks and such. Can you imagine being a serious IT person, a high-level, master degree level, PhD level, internet security guy for a major corporation, and you're planning on attending a conference and you find out that the Rotten Reverend Clinton is the keynote speaker? The woman who suggested that when she was asked about wiping her server suggested, what do you mean, with a cloth? That's the person that's going to be educating us? Oh my God. You can't make this shit up, my friends. You really cannot. And she's recently giving us a commencement address for, I forget, some college in New York or something. And she actually, they say jokingly, referred to herself in that speech as Madam President. She's still living in that fantasy world, man. She really is. I don't know what to think. But she is totally psychotic. As I said, we actually diagnosed here on TowerGate as a sociopath. I brought out the dictionary, and we actually read the definition of sociopath, and she meets it absolutely to the T. Absolutely to the T. Okay, well, hopefully you're done laughing at that, and have taken a breath, and you're ready for the next hilarious item of the day. So I can tell that this week's Dumbass of the Week is going to be a very, very difficult choice. I think most people had it locked in a couple of days ago. We pretty much knew our choice was going to be, but just every day someone else comes out and says something that's even more ridiculous. And I mean, it's really going to be a challenge this week for Dumbass of the Week. So here we go. Let's see. We have the wild-eyed commie, Ocasio-Cortez, saying, quote, "I could win a Nobel Prize in physics, and they'd still call me dumb." Oh my God. Now she's responding to a tweet by Kurt Schleister, who's like FoxNews.com. And he wasn't actually even criticizing her intelligence or anything. It was on a different matter. But this is what how she chose to respond, to say that I could win a Nobel Prize in physics and they'd still call me dumb. Yeah, and you know what's really dumb and proving that you are actually really dumb? Is the very fact that you preface your statement with, I could win a Nobel Prize in physics. Man, oh man. She could win a Nobel Prize. No, she could never win a Nobel Prize in well, actually, these days, who knows? But she certainly should not win a Nobel Prize in anything. And especially physics. Yeah, you could win a Nobel Prize in physics. Well, no, you couldn't. You couldn't win a Nobel Prize in physics. That's why the statement is dumb. She could never win a Nobel Prize, let alone in physics. And yes, we still call you dumb because you're dumb. I think ignorant is the correct word, is it not? Ignorant, I believe that's the correct word. Stupid is a good word. Stupid and ignorant, I think they kind of go hand in hand. Let's see. Thank you very much, Ocasio-Cortez, for another brilliant contribution to Dumbass of the Week. I'm sure you'll rank very high with that crazy statement. Okay, this next deal. Here it is, probably the story of the day. People have been talking about this for about 2 days. This story actually popped up 2 days ago, but it popped up later in the evening after I'd already done my upload of the video for yesterday. So anyway, this is just absolutely amazing right here. We have John Solomon of The Hill reporting that prior to President Trump's inauguration in 2017, Britain's top security official sent the Trump transition team a memo saying that the British government lacked confidence in Christopher Steele's junk dossier. Wow, let me read that one more time. The Hill, John Solomon, is reporting that prior to President Trump's inauguration in 2017, this was a week before he's at the inauguration, Britain's top security official sent the Trump transition team a memo that the British government lacked confidence in Christopher Steele's junk dossier. Mark Meadows, who's John Solomon's source, by the way, says there is now overwhelming evidence to suggest that the FBI was warned on several occasions that the Steele dossier was not credible. Of course, that's just what's in the public domain. Here's where it gets even better. The British National Security Advisor at that time was named Sir Mark Lyall Grant. I kid you not. His name is Sir Mark Lyall Grant. And Grant hand-delivered the memo to incoming National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's team. Congressional investigators interviewed several witnesses that confirm that the memo does exist. Meadows and others are now in hot pursuit of that memo. You bet they are. So what do you make of that? Okay, this guy is a top official national security person, or was at that time. So he is official. He's not someone in a private intelligence firm or ex-official or friend of the Trump campaign or anything like that. He's actually, at that time, Great Britain's highest level national security official. A week before the inauguration, he delivers by hand a memo to someone in Michael Flynn's team. And of course, Michael Flynn was he was Trump's incoming national security advisor, basically the equal to Mr. Grant, telling this memo saying, which I'm sure was given to Flynn's team but was intended to get to the president, and I don't know if the president himself was briefed as well, but certainly Trump's incoming national security advisor given this memo by his British equivalent saying, hey, we really don't think that Steele dossier, the whole collusion thing with Steele dossier, has any merit whatsoever. We think it's junk. It's garbage. This is the official British intelligence, British national security saying this. So this comes through an official channel, not an unofficial channel, through an official channel. In other words, that had to be directed by someone higher up, and that would be what? Theresa May or David Cameron or Boris Johnson, or Boris Johnson would have been the foreign secretary at the time. Someone would have directed him to do that in that position. You serve in that position, you're serving under some chief executive. That's like an advisory position, just like Susan Rice wouldn't go off and start doing things like that without her boss, Obama, knowing about it. I mean, national security officials generally are acting, they give advice to a president, but they don't act and do executive orders on their own. They act on behalf of the president. They give the president information, offer some advice, and they wait for the president for a directive to tell them what to do. They're not generally people in these types of positions who make up their own decisions about these sorts of things and take these sorts of actions on their own. These things are usually, top tiered. So if we take all this into consideration, what does that tell us? Well, first of all, it tells us that the British government was willing to throw Brennan, the FBI, the CIA, the Rotten Reverend Clinton, and the Obama administration under the bus. Why would they do that? Well, to save their bacon. Because they know that up until this time that they have been involved in these frame-ups and this attempt to take out Trump, and don't know how much they knew about the counterintelligence operation or the inside details, but they were certainly complicit and knowledgeable of things going on in and around London concerning Trump campaign officials and spies being run at them, confidential informants being run at them, agent provocateurs being run at them. There were British individuals involved. The three highest level intelligence people in Great Britain were briefed. We had Robert Hannigan meeting personally with John Brennan once he flew to the U.S., possibly twice. They were getting signals intelligence. Halper was working through British intelligence as the intermediary to feed things to the CIA. So we already know overwhelming evidence of British government, official government involvement, as well as former officials' involvement, as well as private contractors who still have interactions with official intelligence officials in the British government. We know that Christopher Steele was briefing official British intelligence people, high level. Okay, so we can see that we have all this going on. So, and then then Trump wins. He wins the election. So the only thing I can think of is that the top officials in Great Britain must have been like everyone else, hoping that and assuming that Trump would lose, especially since they ran so much at his campaign. But then when he wins, they probably said, uh-oh, we're in a world of trouble, man. We are in a world of trouble. Because now Trump has won, and it's a matter of time before he's going to find out all the things that we were involved in. And that could be a really, really big problem. It could be extremely embarrassing. It could also, we don't know how Trump's going to react. I mean, he could sanction us or in some way We certainly don't want to lose the friendship of the United States, especially when we're in this hellish nightmare of this Brexit, which we have no intention on carrying out, but we may at some point need to have some sort of a good trade agreement with the U.S. because we may end up in a stalemate with the EU in the future. You know, there's a lot of unknowns, and right now, the thing that you would least want to have in that situation that Great Britain was in at that time would be to have a bad relationship with the brand new incoming president who you just tried to frame, who you cooperated in a coup attempt against. So my thoughts are that at that point, Trump wins the election, the British government realizes at the highest levels that all the things that they were involved in, and they realize at this point, well, screw Hillary Clinton, screw Obama. Obama can't do anything to us or for us at this point. He's gone. The rotten Reverend Clinton is no good to us now. She lost. And here we are holding the bag because we were involved in all this crap. The only thing we can do is a mea culpa. And that means let's just, in a most direct but subtle way that we can, let's just inform the president through a senior level official that we don't think that the information that has been cultivated around these parts here in London and passed on through American intelligence about this collusion, this Russian hoax thing, this Russian collusion, that there's any truth to it, and that we don't think Steele is credible. In other words, to try to, I guess, lighten the amount of damage or exposure that they were going to experience once Trump figured out what was going on, or had been going on. And at this point, they would be willing to, because they're throwing the FBI, the CIA, including their own intelligence people, under the bus right here. They're essentially, they're essentially admitting that they know about this, okay? Just in the statement itself, by saying we don't think the Steele dossier is reliable or what have you, they're essentially admitting they know about it. They know it's about this Trump-Russia collusion delusion. They know about this. They're admitting that in their statement and saying, gee, we don't believe that this is all credible. Almost like they want to pretend that that they weren't a part of it. Knowing good and well that at some point it will be revealed that they were, at which point they can try to muddy the water by saying, well, Christopher Steele wasn't an official, British agent. He was, working for himself on behalf of other people who was being paid by, the Hillary Clinton campaign or Confusion GPS or whatever. He wasn't our official guy, So it certainly looks like the British government realized, hey, Trump won the election, we're in big trouble, and we better do something to try to get out in front of this thing and get out from underneath of this thing that we're caught up in, because we're certainly complicit. We have to do something to lessen the damage that's going to come as a result of this. And there is going to be some damage that's going to come as a result of this, but we can at least ways try to make it so it's less painful than it's going to be when we finally have to admit what we've been a part of. So try to lighten the load a bit. So this is an extraordinary revelation, and if in fact they are able to locate this memo, what will be very interesting to find out is whether or not the Obama administration was aware of this memo. This is obviously, it was hand delivered, and the reason it was hand delivered and not delivered through an email or something like that is because the Obama administration was still in charge at the time, and British intelligence would have known that with this spying intelligence surveillance program going on the Trump campaign, that it would have been picked up. The FBI, the CIA, British intelligence, they would have picked up any attempt to transmit this information electronically, so they had to hand deliver it to someone in Trump's team, and that would be his national security advisor, Michael Flynn. So this is very interesting information. We'll be definitely following this very closely and waiting to find out if they locate this memo. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Bye.